Now, the Grenfell tragedy shone a light on housing safety standards in the capital and beyond. Since the fire more than 3.5 years ago, urgent checks have been carried out on thousands of buildings. They've revealed a variety of issues, with more than 500 considered to be the most at risk, requiring round-the-clock fire safety patrols. Let's get more from Davies, who joins me now. Carrie.
Well, we've been covering the issue of cladding for several years now, but the number of blocks that we know have been affected by issues has gone up recently because of more high-rises have had these intrusive surveys just to find out what the outside of their blocks are made of. Now, it's not only cladding, it's also insulation, issues with compartmentation and the construction. We actually went out with a facade company to see the sort of problems that they've been finding. From the outside, this block in East London doesn't look like there's much of an issue, but cut into the outside wall and you see something else.
We found a highly combustible insulation behind 2.5mm of thin coat render. The insulation is expanded polystyrene. It's the same as you'd find in the majority of packaging and is the same combustibility as the cladding that was on Grenfell. Could easily catch fire from a car fire, setting the wall alight within minutes.
This is just one of the problems that Dorian and his team have seen as they've been carrying out facade checks around London.
Did you realise how bad the situation was until this year?
No. 3 years ago we started to undertake reports after Grenfell, and there were some issues, but in the last 12 months the workload has dramatically increased. Something like 92% of the buildings that we look at have some form of breach. It's frightening, really. The amount of non-compliances, the standard of work, the standard of workmanship, how these buildings have been constructed is quite frightening.
And how many blocks are affected, Carrie?
Well, it's difficult to know the exact number, but one way you can look at how big the problem is by identifying the number of blocks that have been had so many breaches that they're considered to need a waking watch. That is a 24-hour patrol who help in the case of an emergency to help evacuate people. Now, in March, there were 286 blocks that had a waking watch. Now it's 573. I spoke to Brian, who lives in a block. He found out that at the start of November that his block had issues with cavity barriers and that he would need a waking watch. He doesn't know who's going to pay for this watch, which could be up to £100,000 for the whole block for a month.
There's just no certainty as to whether we're going to pay for these costs or not. There's no certainty as to when the remedial works will be done. There's no certainty as to when the waking watch will end. Who's going to be paying for all of this? Because why should it be us when we purchase properties in good faith? You purchase a product from the shop, you take it back. The same sort of principles should apply. You know, we've invested heavily in these properties, and why should these costs be falling onto us?
So what about the government's role?
Well, a lot of people who have these issues were hoping that the government might be able to bail them out. However, something I have been able to clarify with the government tonight, that if you didn't register for the government fund, they set aside £1.6 billion to help people with these fire safety issues. If you didn't register before the 31st of July, then you aren't eligible at the moment to be able to get money from that fund. The government have told us that they understand many people will be worried and that their priority is making sure that residents are safe and feel safe in their homes by removing dangerous cladding as quickly as possible. They said they continue to keep the Building Safety Fund deadlines under review and that they will work through the application process. They also pointed out that some people might have applied thinking they could have a block with dangerous out facades on and have removed that application now. But of course, a lot of people very concerned with what's on the outside of their building.
OK. Carrie, thank you for clarifying all of that. Really helpful. Davies there. Thank you.